if you're looking for some Christmas inspiration and trying to get in that Christmas spirit, this video is for you. We're going to start out with project number 1, this beautiful wood piece. I love this, and I really didn't want to alter the gorgeous wood pattern. So I thought we would add a beautiful transfer to this. Before I did that though, I was afraid it wouldn't stick to the regular wood. So I did add a clear coat of matte clear coat. And I'm adding this candle. Now the candle itself came from the IOD Crimson Velvet transfer, but I felt like it was just a little bit boring by itself. So we're going to have a little bit of fun and do some layering on this. I am just rubbing over this transfer with this plastic tool, pulling the topping off as I go. Once I get this pulled off, I go ahead and just use my fingers and smooth over real good to make sure it is embedded in that wood grain. You can use the plastic backing, but sometimes it rips off my transfer, so I'm pretty careful when doing this part so that I don't rip my transfers. Now we are going to add these beautiful deer antlers. I don't know about you all, I'm not a huge rustic fan, but I love deer antlers. I think they can go in just about any style and look beautiful. I found this adorable cardinal that was in a portrait style, and I decided to just cut out the background around it and stick it right there in the center, like it's kind of perched on those antlers. And I thought the pop of red was really pretty with this. Once I put that on, I decided this needs something at the bottom. So I grabbed some of those florals out of that same transfer pad and just kind of cut them and fit them to go just at the bottom on the left. What we're doing here is kind of like perspective, I guess, or composition. So once I put these pieces at the bottom, then I'm going to go to the top right and put one of the stars just to kind of even out the composition of this. That is it. That's all we add to this. Now that's all the transfers to that center, but I really wanted just a pop of red paint, but nothing crazy. So I got out my swatch book and I found a paint couture paint called Garnet, and I put 2 coats on the edges of this, and it still showed some of the wood grain through, and I loved it. The first coat, it did show the wood grain through, but I thought it just looked kind of not finished. So I thought, well, let me put a second coat to see. I'm hoping the second coat don't cover the wood, and it didn't. It gave just enough red to go around that rim. And once I finished that, I went ahead and put that matte clear coat all over my decals so they're protected. What do you guys think? I love this, and it's just a simplistic piece to me, and it was so fun and easy to make. Ooh, project number 2. Okay, so I have this just remake silver tray, and I pulled out the Christmas tree from that same IOD book. It's a transfer, of course, and I'm just going to put this down, and we're going to grab out some paint and play and have some fun. I am going to try to blend the colors that are in this background to blend in with the background. The background of this Christmas tree is a very painted look. You can see the brush strokes, it's beautiful. So I initially grab out all the paints I'm showing you, and then I go ahead and add like a teal and a couple purples and a blue. Before I get started though, I want to go ahead and give this a coat of my base paint. This is called Maui Sand. It's a folk art chalk paint. Alright, once I do that, I'm just going to start and look at the colors. Like this corner had a purpley color, so I started out with some purples, and then I have a baby wipe handy to kind of wipe it back off of the transfer if I get it too far in. I don't want to cover my transfer, I just want to blend up to it. And I will go back and add a little bit of the paint sort of in near the Christmas tree, but not much, just to give it kind of a cohesive look. But this is really all about play. It's all about, okay, well, it's still too light. Let me add some dark. Oh, it needs some more of that sort of yellow. Oh, I got too much. Let me wipe a little bit of that back. And when it gets finished, you're gonna know. You're gonna look at it and you're gonna see that it's cohesive, it looks right, the colors blend well, there's no harsh lines. So just play and have fun, and if you have to wipe some back, wipe it back. If you have to add some more, add some more. That's exactly what I did. I kind of looked at the colors and just added them in. I want to take this time to say hello to everyone. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe and you don't know how, just click on my face at the end of the video and it will definitely subscribe you automatically to this channel. Comment below if you're enjoying this video. I'm going to let you guys watch a little bit of this and then I'll be right back. Okay, I went ahead and gave another coat around the Christmas tree with just the Maui sand. And now I'm giving this whole thing a clear coat of my favorite Rust-Oleum matte clear coat. It is down in the description box below. The next step, I love to shade with gold just around the edge of these beautiful trays because especially when they have scallops. So I'm showing you how I use gold rub and buff, and then I also use clear wax because I don't want a perfect line. So I use the clear wax to kind of smudge the line and distress it a little bit so it's not perfectly thick. Once I finish that, I decide to go ahead and go around all the other curves, and I generally don't do the lines, the horizontal lines. Well, it depends which way you look at it, but I did them this time. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. I absolutely love, I think this is such a great dark and moody Christmas decor piece. Of course, it can go with any decor. Comment a tree down below or the word tree if you love this one. Project 3, 4, and 5. Do you all feel like you've done so many things in the past and you still have supplies left? Well, I used to do paint parties years ago and I still had some of these miniature canvases, and I wanted to show you, you could use little wood rounds instead for these, or pretty much just about anything, even larger canvases, but I'm making the smaller, these are going to be little paintings, but they're going to be ornaments. And I wanted to show you also that I'm using just my cheap Hobby Lobby Dollar Tree paints. I'm taking pink paint for the first one. It's kind of a mauve color, giving it a good coat. And then I take a little bit lighter of a color. You could use darker as well to give it a sort of a two-tone. This is wet on wet so that it's not so stark between each colors. Now you can let the first one dry if you want. I'm doing the same thing with the blue. I'm just taking a brighter blue, and then I think I took some white. And black, I leave it solid, but we're gonna do something else to that coming up. We are just going to wing it with these. Now, if you want to put down a pattern or trace something or even stamp something, go ahead. I just am painting basically a head here. I'm going to put a gingerbread on here. I'm only doing one coat on camera, but this does take two. And I'm just drawing his little body out. I don't get it perfect, and when I don't get perfect or it looks kind of off, I just go back in and do some more to it until I get it the way that I want. These are free-handed and they're supposed to look that way. They're not going to look perfect. And I kind of make it go down on each side just to give it a little bit of interest. Now this one would have been better if I would have made the gingerbread a little bit larger, but since I didn't plan anything out, you know, this is what I've got. I will go ahead and do 2 coats of him and let him dry. For the pink one, we're going to do a Christmas tree, and I'm just making brush strokes for my tree. And I'm kind of separating each of my branches, letting a little bit of that pink paint come through. I'm just going to use a bunch of different greens. I do kind of dry in between each green so that the other ones will actually show up and not just blend in. But you could definitely let them blend in. Really, this is your art. Do it however you want. I'm going to let that dry. And then for the black one, of course, we're going to put a snowman on it. And I have to work on him because I don't get him the way I want him. You can see I kind of get his head a little bit more round and his body a little bit more round. So just eyeball it and make it your own. We need 2 coats of white on this one as well. Once we let all of these dry, then comes the fun part. We get to decorate them, kind of like cookies. So I'm gonna use, again, just the same paints. I've got a bunch of colors you can't see out to the side. Now I'm gonna use white to trim out my little gingerbread guy. I also end up using black on him, and you'll see that in just a little bit. While I have my white out, I go ahead and put some like snow on my tree, grab my black, put my little buttons on, and do my little eyes. And I'm going to show you a trick here in a little bit that I forgot about myself. I go ahead and trim this gingerbread out with the black. I just think it gives it such a cool look. Now, I don't do that with the snowman or the tree. You can, but I just want to do it on him. A very thin line, so make sure you have a really thin paintbrush for this part. The thick lines to me don't look as good, but you know, it's your art. If you want the thick ones, then do it. Now I'm taking a couple colors of pink and not blending them all the way, grabbing that black and putting a smile over those little pink cheeks. And then I grab my white and just put X's for his buttons, and I go ahead and put a white dot on each cheek. I think I end up putting a red dot and also later. And then I take that white and do the eyes, a little bit around him, and then just lightly brush some on the paint and his body to give it a little bit of shading. Now here I'm just putting like snow, but that trick I'll show you is coming up. I do the same thing with the little tree. I just trim it out, do a little bit of shading, put a little bit of snow dots all around it. And I don't put any wording on it. I do put a star. I use a really bright yellow. I love how that looks. And for the stem of the tree, I use some of that gingerbread color. I think this is a caramel color. Add, I think, some of that yellow or white. Now here I'm just showing you that trick. I grabbed my dotting tool. I always forget about this thing. You can get these even at Dollar Tree. And I went back over some of my snowdrops and my little eyes. Now I'm just adding a word, a Tim Holtz word, and some stickles that are kind of sparkly, just kind of on edges, maybe on the cheeks, maybe on the star, just to give them a little bit of sparkle because these are Christmassy and wintry. For my little snowman, I mixed a little bit of white and black together because I already had them out, and made a little bit of gray. Shaded my snowman a little bit because I don't know about you, but when I make a snowman outside, they're not really bright white, and you know, they get stuff in them. And then I add my nose, which I should have waited until last to do it, but this gives me a placeholder for it. We go ahead and add those little cheeks, and I think next is the mouth. And my cheeks ended up getting a little bit over my carrot nose, so that's why I said I probably should have did it last. Once I get my little mouth on there, we do the eyes. Oh, I do trim around this one with the black. You can see it better on the white instead of on the edge because there's black already there. And now I just draw in a little scarf. These are so easy to do. Just think of drawing a line around, but just make it fluffy, their neck, and then just 2 strings off of it. And right in the center, you're gonna draw, which I'm all over the place here, sorry about that. Right in the center of that scarf, you're gonna draw like parentheses on each side, right in the middle, that to make it kind of look like a knot. And then I just go around it and add little strips here and there, or stripes, and to make it look like checks. I just do vertical and horizontal, not all the way together, nothing like that, because this is more of like artistic versus crisp lines. And then I go in and do the same thing with some white to kind of highlight, you know, the same thing or the same area. Then we'll add a little bit of stickles to the cheeks and kind of on the edge. And I take white and trim this out kind of like we did the other ones, instead of it just being solid black. And then add more stickles kind of just around it. Now I'm gonna fix that nose, and this little tool worked perfect for that. I'm gonna have to use this from now on for little snowman noses. And I think this one's done. Yep. All right, now I thought these deserved a gloss coat, so I'm just using my Polygloss clear coat. I also go ahead and peel that canvas back and add a string, and then add some beads, and then I glue that canvas back over top of the string because we're making these as ornaments. Now you can use a staple gun to do this. I just punched my little hole with my crocodile. I have most of that stuff listed as links in the description box below if you are interested in any of those products. I love how these turned out. Now I could have made 20 of these to go in my vendor booth or to give as gifts or just hang on your own tree. How fun is that? If you love these or are going to try them, leave me a snowman emoji in the comment section or just the word snowman. Project number 6. I am definitely on the fence about this one, and I almost didn't put it in here, and I thought, no, I'm putting it in. So I love this tray. I love the engraving on it. It's vintage. It's been in my booth for a while, and it is not sold. So I thought maybe it would be gorgeous to paint for any time, but I painted it green, you know, just to kind of be in the Christmas spirit, not necessarily a Christmas decor piece. So don't forget that you can paint things red and green that will fit with Christmas decor, but also something that will fit all year long and give a Christmas vibe. All right, so I painted this Manor Green in Fusion, and I went ahead and waxed it. This does have a seal coat in it, a top coat in it, but I'm getting ready to do something and I needed this wax to be a barrier. I started out thinking I was going to just put some Rub and Buff kind of all over in sparse areas. And once I started doing that, I realized that it wasn't getting down in those grooves because the grooves are very flat. So it's not like they're real large divots. So you'll see here, I do start out using just a chippy brush, just kind of scanning over it. And then I go all out and cover this whole thing in Rub and Buff. Because in my mind, it was going to get down to the grooves and then I could wipe some of it back. Now I do get some flack for using a lot of product and then wiping it back off. Sometimes it is necessary, but there are other times, yes, you know, that not that much product needs to be used. This is one of those times that I had to get it all over to get it down in that engraving. It's called an engraving. All right, so now we've got this whole thing covered with the Rub and Buff, and I'm gonna take clear wax on a towel and wipe it mostly back because I'm wanting that green to come through, but I want the gold to stay in the engraving. And a lot of the gold does stay in the engraving, but it definitely doesn't look like I thought it would. The gold Rub and Buff, I probably could have kept rubbing and got more off of the green paint that's in the areas that are not engraved. But as I was doing it, if I got too heavy-handed, it was pulling it out of that engraving. Even though it's very flat crevice, I guess it's because it is flat and it's not, you know, a deep divot. Anyways, I digress. So this is what we end up with. We end up with a lot of gold Rub and Buff in the corners and on the handles, and then some down in the engravings. I still like it, I just don't love it. And I don't like it. I mean, it's okay. I went ahead and put it in my booth. We'll see if it sells. If it sells, great. That means, you know, I don't have to like everything I make, but let me know what you think. And, you know, remember that everything we make, we're not going to like, but someone else is going to love it. And that's the point. It's our art. We create it. We want other people to enjoy it. It doesn't matter if we love it. Project number 7 and 8. We are back to some fun fiddly ones. I grabbed just a few scraps of paper for this one. This is like an old bill. We actually only end up using one of these, but I'm just giving you some ideas. There's a piece of scrapbook paper, and these are some cards to reorder magazines out of an old quilting magazine, and I loved the red, so that's why I grabbed it. And there's actually a green piece of Tim Holtz scrap there as well. I'm showing you just some pieces I've gotten out that I think I might need. This is fun. It gives you inspiration to get out those little things to create with and inspire us. So I grabbed a few of my little tins that I've just picked up at thrift stores along the way. Here I've already cut out my circle-ish to go on the back of this tin, and I'm just taking some distress ink in, it's linen, antique linen, yeah. And just going over some of the edges and a little bit on the whole piece, but this was not necessary. It really doesn't show up much whenever we finish this piece, but you know, if you want to use green and give some green to it, or even just red, you can definitely do that. Wait until you see, we add some red and pink unintentionally. All right, I'm going to use this little mouse from one of the Iron Orchid Designs books. Is kitschy, and this one is that crimson velvet that I was talking about. I used some 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac glue to attach my little piece of postcard, and I take this little mouse and I rub it on there. For some reason, part of the face is missing. I don't know. It wasn't on the backing, so maybe I rubbed it down into itself. I ended up taking some ink and just filling in those little white spots. You'll see them when I take this off, but I don't show how I just take a paintbrush and go over the white spots with some brown ink so that it kind of fixes that mess. This one was tedious. It was trying to give me a hard time, but I was not letting it. So I grabbed my hot glue gun and just put some glue right here. We're going to take just a gold pipe cleaner and go around this whole thing, giving it a little bit of sparkle and a little bit of shine, and also covering up those circle-ish edges. So, you know, you can use different things. You could use rope, you could use twine, you could even use fabric. There's so many things you could use around the edge of this pan, and we're going to do even more around the edges here shortly. But I finished adding that, and before I do any more steps, I thought, well, I need to seal this little mouse in, because look, I'm missing a chunk right there on my teacup, and I have no idea where it went. So it's not happy with this paper, and I don't know if it was the coating. So I thought, well, I'm going to put some of this clear coat, the matte clear coat, on here. Well, it smeared the red ink, so this has kind of got a pink tone over it. It's not really streaked. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I was like, okay, I'm just going with it. It's cool. So I had to fix, well, I put something over that little area that's missing. In the meantime, I had this green tool in my stash that has these big green discs on it. Oh, it's so pretty. So I made just a little bow, and I'm going to put another little red bow on top of that. We go ahead and add some buttons, a little fake stamp out of some of my ephemera. I go ahead and add some pom-pom trim around this thing. I mean, we go all out. You can paint these, but I really just wanted to leave the classic silver, you know, to show that this was a tin. That way it's just using something that people, you know, a lot of people don't use these anymore. You just see them all over thrift stores. So grab those up to use for ornaments and all kinds of things. I'm showing you here that I used my crocodile to punch a hole to put a string through to hold this. And we have moved on to the second one now. I'll show you both of them coming up with their beautiful beads. On this one, it's funny because I had every intention of putting another one of those pieces of paper on the background, and apparently I got so excited to get this done, I just started adding the transfers without even thinking about having a background, and it still turned out adorable. But I like having a background on these little pans. We kind of did the same thing. We did red pom-pom trim. Where we didn't put a circle, we didn't need anything on the inside. So I just grabbed some old lace trim that someone gave me and wrinkled it up on top of some glue, because I need a little base for what we're going to add to this. I thought we would add a little scenery right in front of this little gingerbread. So I grabbed this little gold tree, just hot glued it on top of the lace, and then I added a dice and a little green Monopoly house. Now I do start out with a different green piece. Oh, and I add a button to the middle of that gold snowflake, just a little red button, just so we've got something kind of added back there other than the transfers. I love this one too. Like I said, even though I didn't put that back piece on it, you guys will have to let me know what you think about this one. And have you guys ever made these? I see these a lot on Pinterest, so I know people are making them. I just wondered if any of you guys have made these. Let me know, especially out of the little, even the little pie tins. I wanted to do a bunch of those mini ones, but I just didn't have time. And this video, I am sorry it's taken me so long to get it out, but unfortunately work's been really busy, which is fortunate but unfortunate. So I've had to spend a lot more time with my real job and, you know, family, but it's okay. I love when I get to craft or create and share with you all. Projects 9, 10, and 11 are so easy because I didn't want to do anything to these that was permanent. I grabbed out any ribbon that was red or green and twine, made them kind of stick together just by, you know, stranding them up, and took them and put it through the cookie cutter. So if you look at this first cookie cutter, I thought this was a gingerbread man when I bought it, but it's not. I mean, I think it's a cowboy gingerbread man, but he's got guns right there on his sides, if you can see when my hands are out of the way. But this thing's really old. All of them are old, and I didn't want to do anything to them that was permanent, so I just got a bunch of these beautiful colors, strung it through that, or fed it through that little place there, and I'm going to tie a bow on each one, and then I'm going to take some string and put it, or string or twine, whichever one you want, put it through the top of the little holder of that cookie cutter to make a hanger so these can hang on a tree. But I put them in my booth, so if someone just wants to take the string off, then they could actually use them as cookie cutters or display them as vintage cookie cutters all year long. So don't blink or you'll miss these. All right, this is going to be the end of our video. I hope you all have enjoyed it. If you stayed until the end, leave me a cookie emoji or type the word cookie. And I'll see you all real soon in the next video.